We got our new stern tube. This is what's been holding us up for putting the engine in.
It's basically what we need to put into Nandji.
We can't really see any way of water getting up here, but because we've had issues before,
Be gently bash it in.
The flange is seized onto the end of the stern tube. Subscribe to the channel as we sail this old girl around the world.
After a busy week in Thailand, running around between businesses and organising our new stainless fabrication jobs, we'd completed our list of things needed to be done, items to be bought, and even snuck in to see some elephants at an ethical sanctuary. After 7 days, we were sailing back to Langkawi with a boatload of new gear and ready to continue the refit to our beloved Nandji.
we've just made it back to Langkawi. It's been a successful mission, but now we've got to unload everything, get it into our little car and transport it to Nandji. And today we're playing courier driver. There you go, good spot for a whippet. Well done, mate. We are loaded.
This is awesome. Who needs a ute, eh? Beep, beep.
Beep, beep.
I don't like to brag, but I was always pretty good at Tetris. I figured if you stack those 4 lines, it'll all disappear. Right, hill start and auto.
Oh, thank
The day has finally come that we got our new stern tube. This is what's been holding us up for putting the engine in. So we need to put the stern tube in, to put the shaft in, to align the motor. So we've been busy doing everything else on Nandji, but now we've got the stern tube. Today's mission, get it in. This is the old one, very homemade job, welded up at the end and it was just held in place by that flange. Here's our new one. Oh yeah.
So this here is basically what we need to put into Nandji. This is all our new drive system. We start back here, so the new engine will be here. Joined from the gearbox will be the Sigma drive here by Bruntons. This bad boy, it kind of moves around a lot, so any sort of play we get in there, it's very compensating for that, so we can't stuff anything up. So this attaches onto the end of the shaft. We then go through to the PYI PSS shaft seal. So this here, what keeps the water out of the boat, pretty much. So there's another block that goes on the end here. This squishes down. So that squishes down, and then it's just friction between that there that holds the water out of the boat. The new stern tube here we need to mount inside Nandji. That's today's task. So I'm Nandji right now. So this here is through the hull. So that's how much hull we have to get through to place that into play. And then on the outside, from the flange, this here will be screwed into the deadwood of the keel. We come through with the shaft, and then we got our auto prop at the end here from Bruntons as well. So this is what we need to install onto Nandji, the dry run. So this goes in, it's quite a snug fit again.
Whoa, that's...
So it's going to be fun getting that in. But then this will be the external end and the flange goes on here.
And why did you change the material?
All stern tubes are not made out of stainless. Stainless is corrosive in such a bad area because it's always inundated with seawater. And so, yeah, so this here is the flange that we'll have to drill our own holes in here to tap on, which will then screw into the deadwood of the hull.
Sweet.
We need to figure out how we're going to set it. I spoke to a few different shipwrights. One person said Sikaflex. Uncle's leaning towards Sikaflex now because it's such a tight squeeze. Production boats are generally
Epoxy?
Epoxy, no, they're set in bog. So we'll bog the ends. But I'm thinking, I don't know, we might need to drill a hole inside because we have got a bit of a cavity from where that old bearing burnt out. So maybe try to drill a hole and just eject epoxy into that area to fill that up. I don't know. Uncle!
Your guess is as good as mine. Bob had said, can you drill a hole down?
That's what I'm thinking.
If we can drill a hole, then we can inject. And then it's gonna...
That's what I'm kind of thinking on the inside.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning on that.
But where do we drill the hole and what? Drilling another hole is not always great. It's not always a great idea.
Because this stern tube's quite snug on the inside here, we're probably going to drill holes to inject that epoxy in. But so from here I can feel underneath and I can feel the lip of where there's been a bit of a cavity that's worn out, and I reckon it was from that bearing that burnt out. it's kind of burnt some inside of the hull. So there's two kind of little cavities. They're not big, but from that smooth bit of pipe, like you can feel it goes up like 5 mil or something. So it's kind of an area that's been chipped out or burnt out for some way, shape or form. And it kind of looks like on top of the area there has been a bit of some sort of job before. So yeah, we'll drill a couple of holes in to investigate these cavities, and then when we set the pipe, when we set the tube, we'll just inject epoxy in around there. That should fill up all those holes and help make it solid. So I'm not worried about drilling holes because we can just glass over them anyway. For water to get up this far, it's doing pretty good anyway, because it'll be set in bog at the end with the flange sticker flexed up against the deadwood as well. So we can't really see any way of water getting up here, but because we've had issues beforehand, I'd like to solve what is going on in this little area just for future. Here goes nothing. We're just figuring out exactly how we're going to mount this bad boy. The wisdom of Uncle definitely presides that we scratch up the sides, so then the epoxy can set in. So if we scratched up here and we've scratched up inside there, there's something that the epoxy can grip to stop it from twisting in any way. And we figure if we mount it, we asked so that we had 30 mil of thread for the flange to go on, so that's where the flange will then screw into the deadwood of the keel. We figure if we stick like 1 or 2 threads on the inside of the keel, then when we tighten that flange in, it's got room to really pull the flange on tight to really restrict any water going up there, because we don't want water on the outside of this in any way. Through the cutlass bearings in here, that's how the shaft is lubricated, so it would just be salt water that goes up to the shaft that lubricates the shaft while that's rotating. Anything that moves and spins, you have to have lubrication, and for the shaft it's salt water, for ours anyway. And then the PSS that goes on the end, so that shaft seal from PYI that clamps on here stops that salt water from going through the shaft, through the stern tube here and into the boat. But first we've got to mount this thing. I'll tape it off, clean it up. I'll let the skills of Uncle with the grinder scratch him up, because I'll probably dig a hole in it, then we'll have the same problem as last time.
So you don't get anything in there?
Just
keep it clean.
Super preventative.
Overkill, because we're not going to have any glue there.
Last thing we want is epoxy ending up down on our cutlass bearing. Well, the only way I see about it is, because it's such a tight snug fit, we just got to be gently bash it in.
Gently bash it.
Well, there's no other way, eh? Like Uncle's saying rubber mallet, but we don't have one of them.
What about a piece of wood?
Yeah, that's the technique.
And then like bang the wood in.
Yeah, that's the technique. But like, what's the emergency backup plan?
Yeah, what's the plan for back?
Oh yeah, how do you get it out?
The jack?
Yeah, jack.
We'd have to jack it out. It's the only way to get it out.
You jacked it out, right, before?
Yeah.
So it just has how much room do we need for jack? Like if we're not getting, okay, so if we're not getting it, if it's not going, if we get it halfway in and we can't go anymore, we gotta jack it out. It's like a point of no return for the jack.
Yeah, like we can easily just use the pump jack to push it back out. It'll be a bit of a bitch to use some different size bits of wood and everything, but like it's doable. The flange is much smaller on this, so it might make it a little bit harder, but there, that's the only exit plan. Is this going to expand?
Yeah, but it's going to be so thin that there's going to be no way for it to really...
It's all nice and roughed up so that it can stick. And how long will this take to set?
Hopefully a long time, but it's pretty hot. I'm going to leave this...
Is anyone else nervous about this?
Yes.
Because if it doesn't work, then we've got epoxy all over it.
Yeah, it's epoxy, you got to get it out, and it's going to be fun. Let's just start knocking it. There you go.
Build up.
Don't feel bad for Nandji, guys. This is fixing. This is what we call fixing Nandji.
Still a little more flat, a little more like that, right there.
That's my angle going.
Going good. Not stopping now. Keep her going.
Tap, tap, taparoo.
Tap it in. Give it a little tappy.
So we don't fuck these screws.
Tap, tap, taparoo.
Yeah, I think it's spinning. Is it spinning?
Not you spinning.
How did that all of a sudden
lock on.
So the flange is seized onto the end of the stern tube and we're trying to get it off so that we can finish banging the stern tube in, and we're on a strict time limit because the epoxy, we don't want the epoxy to set. The threads might be distorted so it's not undoing and we can't get it off.
We kept doing it, and then all of a sudden, after a while, it just stopped.
Yeah.
Deciding the stern tube was over 2/3 in, I would send it home and position the stern tube correctly in place and then worry about the bounded flange. Benita to the rescue.
Lift this one.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, I got a bigger wrench. Come on, baby. Is it big enough?
Yeah, it's big enough. Is that the right angle?
Yeah.
We're just kind of gouging that, but it's going to get bottom painted and primered and painted anyway. Thank God for the big gun.
Yeah.
That's the only way this is coming off. Tells us that stern tube's in there very tight.
Yeah, because it's not spinning.
Just went inside to check to see where the stern tubes come through on the inside. It's perfect!
We are doing the final touches of the epoxy, and then when we put that flange back on, it goes on with Sikaflex.
Okay.
Pretty stoked that we've got it all in here. That worked out. Exciting, and it worked out well.
Yeah.
My measurements are actually spot on the dollar, which doesn't happen very often, and I'm pretty stoked. I've measured that a million times. So I'll put the PSS shaft seal on now, the PYR shaft seal here, so I'll slot that on so we've got a good measurement. We can see where that's going to sit, and then we can rough it up, because Uncle's got a good plan about how we're going to glass the inside of the tube here to the stern, just to make it, it's got no way of moving then. So we just need to get our measurements right again. And then the stern tube's in. Righto. Yeah.
The guys have their own little projects going on. Revarnish some of the wood. So the varnish that was on it was 2-pack, so it's really hard to get off.
Give us a strip show, Benita. You can leave your glove on.
I've just painted on a thick layer of paint remover. There's so much hardwood on Nandji that I hate wearing clothes, so. Going around the boat and putting rust eater on all of the stainless steel. We got a lot of rust stains on the deck. Closing down the boat really well. When we start painting, it's not going to compromise the paint job at all.
I think it might be silver, but
The way that scratches there, it looks like wood though, doesn't it?
it does.